So this was one of those, I will call it serendipitous opportunities for us. When Mr. Baxendale had agreed to come talk about innovation and university technology transfer, it was really our opportunity to kind of kick off the conversation that we want to continue to have around this field, around this practice. We think this is an important part of what we're doing as an innovation community. The conversation with Daniel was a little bit after that, I will say. We won't get into the specifics about when this went down and when you agreed to come meet with us here, because that's on me. But I think the conversations are very related and very connected, and I'm excited about having this conversation ever since I first met you here in the space about learning more about you, learning more about kind of what you do, and certainly understanding the organization that you represent and kind of the work that you guys do. I think this is, again, another one of those opportunities for us to take a first step and introduce an organization that's important and so on. So who are you? So Daniel Kennedy. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Let's start there. What's your job? What's the job title? What do you do today?
Well, I'm the vice president at BioNexus KC, and the title gives absolutely no information.
I saw vice president of just.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not the president.
Right now, I am the vice president of grant administration and economic development, and so the grant administration work is amazing. We are able to garner funds from all sorts of different sources and funnel them into medical research and scientific areas that are just trying to get started, would otherwise not be able to find funds, but are also geared towards strengths that our area has, the KC region going from Manhattan to Columbia, and also where funds from the national government are going. So these are not irrelevant fields. They're topics that are relevant to right now. And when we deliver the funds, or when we put out a grant within our organization, we also spend a large portion of what we charge to administer the funds on the reviews that we give back to everyone that applied. And what's important about that is that these funds, I mean, they're $50,000 parcels, but they're also intended to prepare our community for larger fund asks from the federal government. So NIH, NSF, DOD, all of these big funding wings. And one of the ways that we do that is we provide the reviews back, even to those that didn't get our award.
I'll shout that to the people in the back. I think we have this conversation on the regular amongst organizations in and around Kansas City, that one of the big frustrations is if you're in the entrepreneur, feedback is like gold, right? Like that's the most important thing you can get because it helps you get better. So there's too many organizations that don't provide that feedback and allow others to improve. So that's music to my ears to hear that that's part of what the intentionality around what you guys are doing there.
Everything is so intentional, right? All of our programs have diversity and health equity, wrapped up in them right now. We outreach to our community constantly in order to garner collaboration. We do everything very intentionally. You have to with our staff structure the way it is, and intentionally, we also have very much opened up the rules for our grants program. So if you were at a university or you were working for one of the federal government agencies, your communication has to be, they have training over how much communication you can have with people that submit. I have no such requirements.
That's pre-application though, right? Are there rules in those instances even on the backside of what kind of communication you can have with folks after the grant's been awarded?
If you work for the federal government, possibly no.
Okay.
But for me, I can interact with them
You can do it either way. Yeah.
Any way that I want. I go out to community partners that I know work in these spaces, and I encourage them to apply. We had a maternal and prenatal health grant funded through Blue KC that we released this year for improving health outcomes in Black and Brown communities, and we reached directly out to Uzazi Village to apply because a pinnacle in our community for doula training and improving health outcomes. And so I get to break all the rules that I had to be trained out of when I was in at the university. And then when we do put out our awards, all the people that I'm sending reviews to that did not get them, I'm able to send them to, you should go talk to our Nexus Fund manager because he's handling new technology like this and could potentially give you, if you have, a capital product, potentially give you funds. You should go talk to, the UMKC Entrepreneurial Office because they're looking for ideas like this. I can communicate after the fact.
No, that's fantastic. Though it's nice to have that freedom. So, Daniel, let's take a bit of a step back. Let's talk a little bit more generally about BioNexus.
Yeah.
So, give me kind of the 40,000-foot view of what is BioNexus. I think I say recent. I'm going to date myself. It's a recent rebrand of an organization that's been around for much longer. So tell me a little bit about the organization, what you guys do.
Well, we're an ecosystem development nonprofit that was created to promote innovation, collaboration, education, workforce development within medical research and human and animal health. We affect a region from Columbia, Missouri, all the way over to Manhattan, Kansas, and we strive to not only benefit our stakeholders, which are the 10 largest institutions across that region, but we also do everything for the betterment of our community as well. So we have a strong hold in promoting entrepreneurship as well as promoting job growth and major business across the region. We also connect our job pool with our education systems. We try to predict what new company trainings are going to require and create training programs for those corporate needs. And then we also try to make sure that our research funding is constantly increasing.
And that's working back with those 10. So you have 10 primary stakeholders, or is
Correct.
that?
And then we have our community partners and our business partners and that kind of thing. But yes, we have like KU, K-State, MU, UMKC. They're all our main stakeholders.
Yeah, I was at the dinner a couple weeks ago. I want to talk about the dinner in a minute, but I was at the dinner a couple weeks ago. I remember seeing a lot of stakeholder logos on there beyond just the 10 universities or the 10 higher ed partners. So, so the role of the community partners is maybe on the receiving end of some of the things, or the I guess the other end of the market, regardless of what it is, whether it's workforce development, whether it's research commercialization, whether it's just community partnerships that you might have that are more general than that, right?
Yeah, and we have a wide range of those business partners, right? Because we have clusters that we constantly try and focus in on, and one of our main pain points as a region is the marketing aspect, right?
Okay.
So one of our main sponsors is always Stevens and Associates. There, they actually did the promo video which
again was amazing. If you guys haven't seen the walk-up video, the famous walk-up video, you have to see this. I think it's probably, if it's not out on YouTube, it's got to be out there soon, right? Is it going to get out in public?
Yes, it is. I've tried to push it off as fast as I can, as much as I possibly can, because I give constant simmer looks.
You do
all the time
yeah,
in the video.
yeah.
And I don't know how they caught so many, but they did. Also,
I think if you slow a video like that down, you can catch everybody with that look at some point in time. But it was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite the way that the video looks on YouTube, at no point during the annual dinner did anyone actually hand me a microphone. So this is a decision that my marketing department did not have any actual control over.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So let's talk about your path. So how did you, what were you doing before? How did you land at BioNexus?
Yeah, so I, much like the CEO Dennis, am a recovering scientist, and I started out. I actually grew up here. I was a graduate of Blue Valley West High School. I was a tennis player and couldn't really continue that sport on in college. K-State was my backup, but I could go. I could row at Purdue University, and I could also they had a really great engineering program. In fact, it's like the main program that they have there, right? And biomedical engineering was not what I wanted to do when I went to college there, but it had just gotten a $10 million grant that helped it build this massive facility there. And I was mystified that you could turn in sheets of paper that would then yield this giant building that I now get to. By the way, I no longer am mystified by this particular phenomenon. Now I look at a $10 million grant and go, yeah, but where's the other 90 million coming from?
Right. I was like, they built a building for $10 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Exactly. And what was really cool is that I've just been blessed with so much luck throughout my life, and a YouTube video of a smart prosthetic that we were working on ended up being what a professor at Northwestern had kind of gotten a hold of, and that's how I got into graduate school at Northwestern. I had pretty good GRE scores, but for the most part, the YouTube video.
Hey, marketing helps, right?
Yeah. And so then I went to Northwestern University in Chicago.
Okay.
Where I found out exactly how grants work. And I was a grants officer. I was SBIR, STTR trainee and then trainer. Did the kind of consulting and mini MBA program that they have there. They've got a really great training program. But the more I got into the finances of medicine and research, the more I was wanting to help, right? We conducted some of the most expensive research you can. It was in neural rehabilitation. So it was pharmaceuticals, it was robotics, it was very expensive.
All right, dumb that down for me a little bit. Neural rehabilitation.
Right, so the brain has some type of trauma take place. And this also includes stroke, Parkinson's, that kind of thing. And there's all these phases of repair that take place. So the instantaneous, like the first week, then there's the short to midterm, and then there's the long-term care. We were trying to affect that very small window in either the short term and the kind of midterm care.
It would seem logical that the more you could do in that short window, the greater the likelihood of success in the midterm and the longer would be, right? So like if you can have a greater impact. So that's probably what you guys were trying to figure out, is how do you increase that impact? Or
Right, but if studying the brain is a dark room, because we were studying a trauma that only repairs itself for a small period of time, we were dimming the lights in an already dark room. So this was, it's time-based research. There's not a whole lot of subjects that come in. You have to be ready to move when they are, and then of course the pharmaceuticals and the robotics are all very expensive. And we used robots so that when we were performing these rehabilitation movements, that it wasn't just giving direction, we could actually physically figure out what type of forces were on all the limbs and what the body was trying to do. And we were trying to re-coordinate that towards movements that the body is more prone to make, basically.
That were more natural or more...
Intended is the word that they use. So, it's very frustrating to try and reach out for an object and have your arm move in a very different direction. Got it.
It makes sense. All right, so after Northwestern?
So after Northwestern, I went and I actually worked in marketing and data for a while, and at one point or another, founded a consulting business that helped improve cost to manufacturers for medical products. Just trying to replace like software that didn't need to be this this perfect wrapped up product. There's this open source one that does just fine right over here. It's difficult work to do, detail oriented work to do, but got paid for a short period of time to do this, and then. The work that I was doing caught interest from a company called Novation IQ here in Lenexa, Kansas, and I moved back here. My sister had just gotten into medical school. My parents had decided to stay in Kansas City, and it was just a good time to move back from Chicago. The Chicago winters were really getting to me.
Yeah, they are rough.
Yeah.
They are rough.
And
Southside kid, so yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been snowed into your garden apartment before, but it sucks. And when I moved back, I really enjoyed the research that we were doing, but in truth, we shifted pretty quickly from just cost savings for manufacturers into predictive financial analytics for products that were unapproved or unmanufactured. What could a company stand to make if they were to either pour money into this product, or if they were to sell this product off, if they were to merge this product with another company's portfolio? And over the next 3 years, I ended up doing one of the most exhaustive historical searches of investment firm knowledge of investing within medical research.
Fascinating. I mean, grueling.
yeah. When you're a simulation scientist, it's just another day at the office. So it's just data tables. It's kind of historical proof points. And one of the things that we were noticing was that the in small clusters across the United States, there are places where investors and even whole hospitals are much more risk tolerant in their investments, right? Because whenever you hear about a medical product, it's always like, oh, it's cost $10 billion to put it through the FDA process. Everything is a wall, right? Right. Well, someone's making money in healthcare, right? They wouldn't be able to make the massive buildings, skyscraper-sized buildings that they do out of it if no one did.
Sure.
And all that takes is education. And I wanted to affect my region's education. And literally 2 weeks after I started looking, my wife actually called me with the opening of this position at BioNexus.
And so how long have you been at BioNexus now? I think it's relatively recent, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As of today.
Oh, it's an anniversary?
Yeah. As of today, 10 months.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Has it been everything that you've hoped it would be so far in the 10 months that you've been there?
Oh, it's been way better. It's been way better. I have had to be I have had to learn how to adapt. And
in what ways?
When we start an initiative, we have to figure out how other people are going to push this initiative forward. We do not have the staff to do it ourselves. And I have always been used to an environment where we have you have the staff to do it,
right,
to get it done. But we're not in our organization trying to commercialize our product. We are trying to provide as much benefit to our collaborators and our community as we possibly can. So it's a good thing when other people move that initiative forward.
Yeah, it's not sustainable if they don't.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. I always tell people ecosystem building is a super hard job because you're not an owner of very much.
No. And you have to sell people, but you have to sell people with a product that doesn't pay them back very fast, right?
Sell them on that they're going to have to do the work. Yeah, right. Yeah, like, hey,
exactly.
I've got something for you, but you're going to have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the most? So in your time, whether it was at Northwestern or at Purdue or in your career path up until now, what's like some of the most interesting things that you've seen or worked on? Like.
I got to work on brain-computer interfacing right as it was being invented. That was probably the coolest thing that I got to work on. And I got to work on every facet of it. So like direct nerve control, osseo anchoring, which is where you try and attach a prosthetic directly to the bone, the EMG, kind of crazy person hats that you...
Yeah.
And not that the people that wear them are crazy. They look crazy.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. The crazy people hats. We should call them something different. Yeah.
I'm being videotaped, right?
You are. We can edit it too. Don't worry about it. You're not the first one that's run into this problem. So it's good. It's all good. I get edited out all the time, actually. Sometimes it'll just be you up here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shh. We don't tell them that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the startling part is that I actually work in this field and should know better. Right?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I get to say bad things all the time. So no, yeah. So that's so what are some of the practical applications that like come out of work like that you were doing?
So surprisingly, like one of the largest areas is cybersecurity. So like all of the bio information where we're seeing whether your eyes are looking at a screen, our active prosthetics that now kind of have limited finger movement and some that have leg movement. Those are all born out of that type of research, and also our like anything that you have that's a touch screen or a near touch screen or anything like that. That was all kind of housed and started out of research that was literally just to get a computer to interact with a human being other than through a mouse or keyboard.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm always amazed when I hear about research projects that we collectively as a society don't put more emphasis on the importance of that. And maybe that's more of a political statement that I shouldn't make, because that's typically what starts to draw the line one way or another about how much money gets spent on some of these types of things.
Well, so in this vein, if my story wasn't exciting enough, please go on our BioNexus website and look up our Science to Art program, because you will find projects there that are linked to all sorts of products, but are in either the basic science phase or the biological phase, and they go into explaining how all these images were created and what they're for. Some of them are literally just to publish, others are directly for a product.
So talk a little bit about that program specifically. So one of the reasons that Keystone is where it's at was it's the connectedness